I meant to add, let me see.
Let's start.
I'm going to add Instagram here.
Yep, we are live.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I gotta find Instagram. I lost Instagram.
No worries, guys. YouTube, we are just trying to get everyone hooked up. If you are watching from YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning from.
Okay.
Yeah, this gives an opportunity for people to kind of log on anyways. So
Yeah.
we'll just give it a couple minutes, guys.
Okay. All right. We're good to go.
All right, awesome. Welcome, Instagram. Go ahead and say hi in the comments. We'll love to know where you guys are tuning from. But we hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas with their family and friends. But we are jumping on to remind you that we are getting actually really close to the Healthy Christian Women Bootcamp, which is starting
January
on
12th.
January 12th. I keep saying the 11th because we're kicking it off on the 11th, but it's actually the 12th to the 16th. And so we want to just jump on here to encourage you to get your seat now and not to wait.
Yep. Yeah. So it's 5 days, and it's done virtually. And it starts, people always ask, well, what time does it start? I don't know if I can make it. Well, it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's 4:30 p.m. Pacific. And replays are available. So if you miss something or you're running late or whatever, there's always the replays to catch. But it is a live virtual boot camp. And it is basically the foundation to jumpstarting a new healthy lifestyle. If you've been a yo-yo dieter your whole life, jumping on the next fad, the next thing, oh, I'm going to do this diet or that diet to try to lose weight. And, this is more of a lifestyle. So just as a case in point, I mean, Cersei and I have been living this lifestyle for 13, 14 years now. And it has allowed us to keep our weight off, helped us both reverse our heart disease, back, 13, 14 years ago. And we're helping other women do the same thing. So if you have been noticing the weight creeping up, or you've been diagnosed with a chronic illness like type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, this boot camp is designed for you. And so we use the Daniel fast as a jumping off point to help you jumpstart a new healthy lifestyle, because we've been eating like Daniel for the last 13, 14 years. It's evidence-based. It's biblically based as well. And we use both the Word of God and nutrition science to help you invite God into your health journey and kickstart a new life. So, Cersei, did you want to go through the days, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah. it's 5 days. Like Gigi said, we're going to be doing the Daniel fast. So for those of you who know what the Daniel fast is, it's a whole food plant-based diet, but it's a little more refined in the sense that there's not going to be any sweeteners, any caffeine, any leavened bread for spiritual reasons or symbolic reasons. And so it's going to be the real purest form of just eating food in its most natural state. And so it's going to really give your body that detox from, basically the junk you've just been eating, probably over the holidays, probably throughout the whole
Probably
year,
yesterday or this
to really
morning.
give you that reset. Yeah, just saying, just yesterday or this morning, or what you'll probably have tonight, guys. But all of the above, right? And so it's going to really help you to kind of wean yourself away from the indulgence over the holidays, to be frank. And whether you've done the Daniel fast or not, you're going to get meal plans, you're going to get recipes, you're going to get daily devotionals, so that you kind of intentionally pray for your health during these 5 days. So we're not going to be praying for, even though indirectly, to be honest, like Gigi and I always say, that we're not in the health business, we're in the purpose business. This will spill out into your purpose ultimately, because when you're healthy, you show up as the best version of yourself. But these 5 days, we are carving out to pray for your health, specifically, intentionally, deliberately, to pray for your health so that you can be healthy for every other area that God has for your life, right? Your family, your finances, your career, your ministry, all of the above, being a friend, being whatever the case may be. And so that is the backdrop. And so the first day is going to be why you need a God-centered self-image when it comes to your health. And so this is kind of, we kick it off as the foundation, because how you see yourself, your identity, how you approach health, what messaging you are listening to, who you're taking your orders from, so to speak, all has an effect on how you navigate this space of health and wellness, right? We know that we are living in crazy times where, many of us are just looking for the next fast fix, you know what I mean? And you're on the wagon, off the wagon, trying this, trying that. And a lot of times, what we are trying is not really based on science, what's really healthy for our bodies, but it's just based on what's the next fad, to help me lose 10 pounds quickly. But it's not sustainable long term. And so we're going to get into all of that, but we're also going to get back into the deeper layers of, you know, the struggle that many of us as women, and some men too, not to get men out of this, but the whole war we have had with our bodies all our lives. All right, so we're going to talk about all of that piece, and body image and identity, and feeling like, are you enough to even love yourself enough to take care of yourself? So all of those layers we're going to really dive deep into on day one. But we're also going to get into, on day one, what is so special about the Daniel fast. If you've ever done it, you've had a lot of people say, you know what, I felt so good doing the Daniel fast, but it seemed so mystical, right? But we're going to get into why that story in the Bible with Daniel, when he stood out from the other young men that was eating the king's diet, and he was more healthier than those that ate the king diet. We're going to really pull that story is still relevant right today in 2025, and all the science and the research points to why that when people eat the king's diet, aka the standard American diet, versus people who eat whole food plant-based, why the outcomes are different in every single area, from longevity, from high blood pressure, from diabetes, from obesity, from cancer rates, you name it, you end up being a Daniel in real time. And so we're going to peel back why that story is still relevant, and why God whispered to us in that book of Daniel a truth, a wisdom that has lasted up until today. And so we're going to really get into that. Day two, another powerful day, guys. It is, perhaps, I think, the biggest issue, but the least talked about issue in the church, is breaking our addiction to food. I think it's the biggest and the least spoken about because, well, why would I be addicted to food? I am addicted to A, B, and C, but we really don't put food on that long list of issues that we are trying, or strongholds that we are trying to break in our lives. A lot of times food get a pass, you know, where we might even have a celebration over breaking strongholds with the cake, something else. So food gets a pass in the
Yeah.
church, and that's the truth. Like we'll have a party, for a ministry or for a convention, and then go and eat the foods
Mm.
that is giving us another stronghold. You know what I mean? And so food has basically been a blind spot in the church in terms of our dependence on it, our us using food to meet our emotional needs, using food as a vice for so many other ways to cope. Um, Even though we know that it's destroying our bodies, and why we can't pull away from food as believers. And so we really get into it from a spiritual point of view of, kind of seeing food as an idol and breaking that stronghold. But then we also come to it from the science point of view, which is it's not by accident that we are addicted to these foods. And you could call it the grand master plan of industry. And you could also say that maybe they have a special contract with the enemy. We don't know, but the point is it's a deliberately designed situation to get us hooked on these foods, right? Through the companies, through the way they chemically process these foods. And so we're not here by accident. And so we're going to peel back that layer so that you can kind of untangle yourself mentally around how we got here and why I could only eat one chip, which Lay's does say that as their motto, right? That you can't eat one chip. But they're not lying, because the way that they design these foods is designed so you cannot eat one chip. So you have to come back day in and day out, even if you have a chronic health issue that the chip is promoting, we still can't put it down. And so we're going to get all into that on day 2. And then day 3, we are going to talk about breaking generational patterns of poor health. I don't know how many times I've said this or I've heard this idea that this runs in my family, but I know that I've said it a million times until I understood the truth, what that meant. That what I thought ran in my family, in the sense that I felt powerless, almost like something was running through the blood or the DNA, was actually not the way it appeared. And that we have a lot more control over what runs in our family and how to break generational patterns of poor health. So we're going to talk about that from the scientific point of view. We're going to talk about epigenetics, how you can turn off and on your good genes. But we're also going to talk about it from a spiritual point of view, which is leaving a legacy of health, breaking the stronghold of passing down habits and just modeling the way we have our relationship with food. We're going to talk about how to break that from the spiritual point of view as well.
Yeah. So day 4 is basically, you're going to learn a lot of stuff the first 3 days. Like your head's going to explode. You're going to be sitting there watching and be like, your eyes are going to open. You're going to say, I had no idea. I didn't think about it that way. And then your head's going to come back together after it explodes. It's going to reform. Yeah. and then and then day 4 is going to pose you with a question about, okay, now that you have this information, what are you going to do with it? So it's all about developing that courage to take action. And that's, we're going to look at it, from a biblical perspective around, faith without works is dead, right? In James. And so it's really around, now that you're armed with all this information, all this knowledge, and it's, like Cersei said, it's evidence based. We look at it from a business perspective, biblical perspective. What are you going to do? So you're going to be faced with that decision on day 4. Day 5 is where we kind of put a bow on everything, because we connect your physical health to your financial wealth. And so we look at the fact that most bankruptcy filings are due to health. They're due to health issues and healthcare expenses. And so it really comes down to, stacking the odds in your favor, right? Like doing what you can to avoid healthcare costs that could basically deplete your savings, ruin your retirement, and really hinder your ability to pass on generational wealth to your kids and your family. So that wraps up the 5 days, and there will be some options that we'll present you at the end of towards the end of the boot camp with, if you want to continue or not. We've got a variety of different options for different people and different price points. Some free options, some low cost, and some more involved options. So you're not going to be left hanging at the end of the 5 days if you want to continue. But this boot camp is for someone who, the Holy Spirit's been nudging you. Like, that you need to do something, in your heart that you need to do something different, because what you've been doing has not been working. It just has not been working. And if you feel like, okay, well, I'm praying all the time and I'm, really, but you're not really taking the action, this boot camp is for you. And so, we are, the link is in the bio if you're on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, it's in the description. But don't wait, don't sit on the fence or hem and haw about it. We made the price point very accessible. It's the cost of, we like to say, an Uber Eats meal. And so we invite you to come. And if you are praying for your health, if you're struggling with a chronic illness and you want to do something about it, just sign up. Don't hesitate.
Yeah. And you're going to be in a community of other like-minded women who are striving for the same thing. And so it's refreshing to kind of be in that doing things in community, like rather than just kind of struggling and doing it on your own. And so that's also a bonus as well. And so we're excited for January. We've had the boot camp on where it wasn't live, where you could watch the replays, but there's nothing like coming to the live session, because you do get that community, you do get to ask questions in real time, you do get to do your homework, come back and kind of, I don't want to say share notes, but in a way, kind of see how other people saw it. They'll be posting their progress. And so it's really a wonderful way to kickstart the new year, and really get ready for the trajectory of really setting your health on the right path for 2026.
Yeah, and this boot camp, I'm glad you said that, Cersei, because we have different ladies who are in different stages of the journey who join this boot camp. We have ladies who, transitioned a long time ago, but they just like the community feel. They like the biblical, teachings. They always come out and say, yeah, I've been to this boot camp multiple times, but I learned something new that I didn't catch the first 4 times I attended, and so, it's for anybody, regardless of your journey. If you're just starting out, or if you've been on this path for several years, and you just want that, combination of a faith-based, health approach, join the boot camp. It really is a unique experience that you'll come away a different person than when you came in.
Indeed.
All
Awesome.
Right. All right. Bye for now.
Bye.